Now, as part of our review of the markets for the first half of the year, we turn our attention to the NASD over-the-counter market. Bola Ajomale is the Managing Director, NASD OTC PLC. He joins me now to talk about this. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you for having us.
Let's talk a little bit more of, the markets. Give us an overview of how this unlisted securities market is fared in the first half of the year.
Thanks. The first half has been, I think, quite interesting, quite exciting, and quite a lot of the things that we anticipated providing for the Nigerian economy have started to come together. First of all, we've had growth in the number of securities that have come onto the market. We've now got 22 securities trading. We anticipate that probably by the end of the year would probably raise that figure to about maybe 50 or 60 by the end of this year. Essentially what we're doing is we're opening up securities for investors to trade in, first and foremost, creating that kind of liquidity that hasn't been there before because the securities were not listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Second thing is we've seen an increase in the number of participants. We're up to 98 traders and 163 individuals who are now operating on the market. We've also seen an increase in the number of trades. For the first time, we've seen consistent trading for 50 days in a row, which has never happened before. And this is 24 months after we've opened. So the market is picking up. It's growing in traction as well.
Which means that there's something that you guys are doing right, making this guys come to list, this are the fellows, this are the folks to come and list on the platform. What is it that you guys are doing?
I think the most important thing is everybody wants transparency, everybody wants order. And so what we've done is we've concentrated on creating the rules for the market and creating an orderly system where people can come in and trade. Recently this year, at the beginning of this year, I think, well, middle of the year, by April, the Securities and Exchange Commission published a rule on trading of unlisted securities, and by that rule, you can no longer trade public securities outside a public platform. What that did was it drove all the trading that was going on outside the market in corners and in briefcases, brought it out into the open, and so we're seeing that transparency now coming through. What we have then done to anticipate that influx is to empower the whole industry itself, give them training, give them the opportunity to actually express their trades, find the right prices, allow supply and demand to actually interact and come up with an equilibrium price that satisfies both buyer and seller.
So did you face any challenges for the first half? You see, because a lot of times when you look at markets such as yours, platforms such as yours, you begin to wonder if regulations or policies are kind of stifling businesses from actually, coming in.
I think regulation actually empowers business, if it's positive regulation. There's some regulation that comes in that really hasn't been tested and hasn't been demanded by the market and just comes in because possibly the authorities believe that that's the next step to take. In markets, however, the market normally moves ahead of regulation, and the regulation comes in and codifies whatever practice the operators in that industry are embarking on. And that's what happened in our case. Traders have always been trading securities, either listed or unlisted, either private or public, and what has happened is regulation has just come through and said this is the right way to do it, and so the market has responded positively to it.
So in looking at those regulations now, did it kind of offset some of the challenges that were experienced in the first half, or were there challenges outside of regulatory purview?
Outside the regulatory purview, I think not. I think the most important thing, apart from getting the regulation in place, was also just getting the news out there that there is a market where people could trade. And we have done that in a relatively conservative manner, in order not to say what we're not delivering. And I think that's paying off because people now realize that there is a market. And as a result, we've been seeing international investors coming in and trading on the market. We had recently probably one of the largest deals in the last couple of years happen on that platform. We traded 40 billion Naira's worth in one single transaction. So really the market is now stepping up to fill that vacuum that has always been there and has started delivering a transparency that wasn't in place before.
Well, at your annual general meeting, it was said that the NSD hit a value in excess of about 40 billion.
We're now trading at about 45 billion.
45 billion at the moment. So now, does this figure represent the potential, for instance, of the unlisted securities in the Nigerian market?
Actually, it doesn't. It's highly, it understates the size of the market. And think about it, the whole of the power industry needs financing. The whole of the marginal oil field industry needs financing.
The whole economy needs financing.
The whole economy needs financing. And that financing, for as long as it comes in for longer than a year, it is a capital market activity. And the OTC markets will deliver that capital market activity. So just look at the quantum of work that needs to be done on various segments of the economy, and you've realized that you have a phenomenal market that's growing.
So how will it deliver?
We will deliver by essentially trying our very best to create securities that are standardized. Once the securities are standardized and once you have a risk and a return that you can measure on any instrument, then you can trade it. But for as long as it's not standardized, then it's difficult for you to know what it's really worth. And that's what we're doing. We're creating instruments, we'll be creating instruments towards the end of this year that would allow you to standardize private equity products, that would allow you to standardize entry into the power sector, which has never been in the market before. And as a result, you start seeing more investment activity being recorded.
We've seen more investment activities, particularly from some discos and Gencos coming in, to list on the platform. What's it been like? Are you expecting to see more of such companies coming in to list on the platform?
We are opening up the whole of the power sector, essentially. And if we do that, then you will see, first of all, those who are already invested in the power sector being able to trade and get liquidity, and then you'll see them being able to raise additional financing that would then have a secondary market on which you can trade. So yes, we do anticipate them coming in.
So let's talk about the value. What value does your platform, present to securities and investors?
It gives them transparency. You can see, before now, if you held shares in a WAMCO, a CSCS, or Fullman, or any of the other securities that are trading on the market, if you're writing up your accounts, you would not have a figure that's acceptable, that's universally acceptable. You would have to estimate and get your own valuation. Most of the times you get into some kind of argument with your auditors about it as well. And now you have a reference price, and that reference price is a universally accepted price that everyone can see. So it's great for asset managers, it's great for investors because they can now see a price. Again, what it does for investors, it allows investors to see what their shares are worth and just take a decision as to whether they want to buy or sell. Again, it provides a guide for stockbrokers and for anyone who's an investment advisor, because they can then value a company and determine whether they want to advise their clients to buy or sell. So again, it increases the size of the market that the operators are operating in.
So we have from all sectors, we have traders from all sectors on this particular platform. We have stocks from securities, if you like to put it that way, from all sectors on this platform. How does it, you talked about providing funds for the economy as a whole, but in the short to medium term, how do you think your platform can achieve that?
In the short medium term, and that's another area that we're actually going to diversify into some new areas and go upstream, so to speak, into some new areas. So we have already circulated rules around the market for crowdfunding. That's currently in discussion with the SEC. We anticipate working with the SME industry as well. So we're going upstream to mobilize funding and also mobilize a secondary market for those who are invested in that side of the market, allowing those kind of companies to grow, and as they grow, they can become standardized enough to either go into a larger exchange if they want to, get a cross-listing if they want to, or go for dual listing in another country if they want to.
Yeah, because it's really very interesting that we've got SMEs wanting to come into the markets but do not have a very strong platform, if you like to put it that way, to come in. So talk a little bit more about how SMEs can take advantage of your platform to let their business grow.
Well, the very first thing is we have a set of rules that they need to follow. And if they follow those rules, then, and it's a great thing. I mean, you might think the rules will hinder them, but in actual fact, what it will do is it would shape them into a form where investors can then see them, value them, look at their corporate governance, and realize that this is worth investing in. Most of the time, the best entrepreneurs are not, sometimes are not the best accountants, they're not the best managers of a business, but they do have a great business idea. So what our platform would do is it would probably request of them that they get the structure together that will support additional investment when it does come in.
Okay, we have this tweet from Kingsley. He says, as an individual with investment cash of 100,000 naira, what can I invest in with regards, he says bonds and securities, but could you comment more on the securities aspect? He talked about individuals being able to access the market, the platform.
Well, the traders on the platform are stockbrokers. Okay. So you will need to talk to a stockbroker to get a trade done on the market. Individuals cannot enter into the market and trade on it. However, you can be guided by the prices, and if you go onto a website, you'll see the prices, daily prices, and daily trades that happen on the market. So for individuals, they can be guided, and if you look across the top of our website, you'll also see a ticker that shows what the prices are, what events are happening on each of the companies that are on the platform and not on the platform as well. So it's essentially a source of information. We, however, would not advise that going for this company or going for that company. In addition, I think before an investor takes a decision as to what to invest in, the person should probably look at their liquidity requirements, how long they want to invest for, what type of risk they're willing to take, and so on, before they then take advice as to what they should buy. So really for an investor who has 100,000, I'd say, get someone to talk to you first and let the person assess what you can take in terms of investment before you then take a decision as to what to invest in.
So just like we saw interesting times for the first half of the year for the platform, we're expecting to see more interesting times for the second half. But I'd just like to quickly ask this question. During your annual general meeting, there wasn't any talk about giving any dividends, and a lot of investors are really particular about getting dividends from the company. So are we expecting to see any dividend payouts, at least for the 2015 year, with all the plans you've outlined with regards, where the platform is actually, NASD OTC platform is going to be at the end of the year?
I think anyone who's invested in a company is looking forward to dividends. So yes, I'm hoping to deliver on that, absolutely.
Well, in terms of what? That's a little vague.
Actually, it's not. We've had the first 2 years, we've been in a very strong build mode. And we're now beginning to see quite a few of those come together. We're beginning to see the results of them. We think that if this year continues as it started, it's going to be a pretty good year for us. And by the end of it, our investor group is currently made up of operators in the market. And so they understand the growth, and they can see very clearly the growth trajectory of the market. And so for the first 2 years, as mentioned, they haven't been calling for dividends because they've seen the market grow, and they know that it's not you start today and you declare a dividend tomorrow. So we've done 24 months of operation. We're getting to a stage where we're now consolidating on that growth, and I think by the end of the year, we should be able to hopefully be able to satisfy them in terms of a dividend of some sort.
Well, I'll take that very evasive answer from you, Bola. But thank you so much for coming on the program this morning. And of course, just like we have our eye on the NSE, we've also got our eye on the NASD OTC platform. Bola Ajomale is the Managing Director of NASD OTC PLC. He joins me to share his thoughts on what the market has been like, the unlisted securities market has been like in the first half